Hello, my name is Richter. I'm working at the Planetarium Wien, so I'm employed at the Planetarium of the City of Vienna. And I'm happy to present you our contribution for the CAP 2021 about bringing astronomy to students before, during and after the corona pandemic. So let's get started. The Planetarium is the biggest one in Austria, and of course we have inside the dome a full dome projection system that we use to display our shows inside the dome, and we produce all the content that we use for our shows ourselves, or let's say most of the content we produce on our own, in order to face the challenges that are set to us by wanting to have shows that are not only impressive and fun, but also are right to the point to face the needs of schools and kindergartens in the city of Vienna, so facing the challenges to adapt to their curriculums, for example. Inside the dome we not only have the full dome projection system, but we also have our M9 Universarium from Zeiss, and which is doing the greatest sky in all the world. So we do shows for kids, for adults, for families, and of course for schools. And in addition to the planetarium, there are two observatories. For example, the Kufner Observatory, a historic one, built in 1894 to 96, and we have historic instruments in there that were renovated and are able to give the audience impression of how astronomy was performed 100 years ago. So you can look through instruments that are that old. And then we have a second observatory, the Urania Sternwarte. It's located directly in the city center, and we have a reflector and a refractor on the same mount. And of course, being directly in the center, we face a lot of light pollution. Thus, we are focusing on observation of the sun, using special filters, of course, and on other bright objects such as planets. And the Urania Observatory and the Kufner Observatory are both using telescopes in the dome. And then we started to do pop-up astronomy. Well, you just have to take a mobile telescope and put it somewhere, and then you can have your own pop-up observation station. For example, during lunar eclipse, you can do it from anywhere in the city. Then we started to have some other outdoor activities. For example, we have pop-up planetary walks using roll-ups for each planet and having different experimental settings to feature the characteristics of the planets. Then you can do different performances with that. For example, Astro Mini Golf. Each planet has its own lane featuring the characteristics of the planet again. So that was really hard to have a hole-in-one. And of course you can do hands-on experiments, and in this case my colleague here was not hurt. So, and all of a sudden you're locked down. So what to do? Just do online stuff, of course. Yeah, and seriously, we did online stuff. I want to point out that we have another contribution right away with a Space for Kids and interactive planetarium show. So with this Space for Kids webinar, I will not give you any more information on that because you have another talk about it. What else? Development of outdoor activities. So what can we do? I will give you some short impressions. You already know our roll-ups for the different planets, and of course we have a lot of different approaches. For example, everyone wants to know what's his weight on the planet of Jupiter. So just step on the scale and you know how heavy you are. And then having the different kinds of objects, and we want to give the characteristics to the audience. So let's say, okay, we have Jupiter and Saturn with being gas giants, consisting mostly of hydrogen and of helium. And of course, we don't want to do any experiments with hydrogen, so let's do it with helium. So the soap bubbles, you saw first I did some normal soap bubbles with just breathing out air, and they were not flying, they were falling. Because of the gravity, they were falling. So now I have helium, and If I do helium soap bubbles, of course, they are lighter than air and they will rise. So this is a nice effect to give an impression of what you can do with different kinds of gases. And if you do it with helium, you should do it with a gas that is heavier than air as well. So yeah, let's try to do that. It's not that easy because sucking in such a heavy gas, but you see, the effect is clear. The soap bubbles are falling down. And you have to expel the gas really hard because it's not that easy. And then, if you have the gas, and we did this video on May the 4th, you should do that.
Luke, I'm your father. May the force be with you.
Yeah, I really have the best job in the world, I think. And of course, if you do such experiments with gas along a planetary walk or something, you have to decide which gas to use for what scene.
Luke, I'm your father. Luke, I'm your father.
Because it's very easy to get the audience laughing.
With you. Luke, I'm your father. May the 4th be with you.
Okay, so other experiments you can do is just for the moon, for example, how craters are formed, just do an experiment with real meteoroids. And of course you want to go to the moon with a rocket. So rocket science is very good to do some outdoor activities. Let's get started in air rocket. And now we do the prototype cycle based on the ideas from Ed Sobi. Paper rocket, just build it and start it. Yeah, this one was really good. Actually, we want to do more close-up shots, but it was just landing on the roof of the planetarium. And then we need a real rocket, a combustion chamber with this plastic bottle, some fins to stabilize the flight. And then we use some tape to mount it on the combustion chamber. And then we have a rocket. Of course, we have, just like in the cooking shows, something prepared for you. And this is a real rocket now. Of course, a real rocket uses gas in the combustion chamber, and we have a water rocket. Let's get rid of the dangerous parts, not to get hit into the eye. Then we plug in at the launch pad and let's start to pressurize the combustion chamber. And lift off. Yeah, that's fun. And you see, with all that, you can have good outdoor activities. But what about the future? What should we do? And having in mind that we have all the cool indoor stuff with our full-on projection, with the telescopes and all that, then we have the webinars going on. We want to have the big picture in science communication. And thus we combine now, for example, for schools, all that we have. We can offer a webinar at the first place to dive into the topic, to dive into the universe, then to prepare for an visit of the planetarium. You have a special show there. Afterwards you can walk through the planetary walk and have the experiments going on right for each planet, for example, and do some observations at the observatories. So, bringing astronomy to students before, during and after the corona pandemic, I just want to cite Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise. The line must be drawn here, this far and no further. So nothing will ever stop us of doing science communication because we love it.